Are you trying to dominate your fantasy football league? Do you want so many championship rings it's impossible to sign autographs? Well, crack open a beer, pour yourself a glass of bourbon, and settle in, because you've come to the right place. Welcome to Hammercast.
Welcome to the Double D's podcast, which is part of the Hammercast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Coleman, and on this episode, we have special guests from across the pond. I'm not even sure what time it is over there. Joseph Russ, from our own Hammercast Network. He does all the Hammercast UK stuff, and he's here to talk about his Chicago Bears. Joseph, thanks for coming on. Why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you? Obviously, they kind of know, but what are some work you've been doing, and they can check you out?
Yeah, cheers. Well, first and foremost, thanks for getting me on, Kevin. Even though you've got a better beard than mine, I think that's the reason why you got me on, just to shame me. I'm doing the Hammercast UK stuff. We've just started up a Facebook page. It's going to be a bit of a project this year. So anybody out there interested in doing any work or collaboration stuff with any of the UK side, please do get in touch with myself. The DMs are always open, or Kevin, as we look to take some things off the ground. Obviously, this moment in time, we're just kind of sort of sharing the work out across the UK with all the good stuff that's going on, including some of the golf stuff that's just been kicking off. Been quite impressed by some of them shows recently. So if anybody's not seen that, I urge them to check it out. We sort of touched on, we just started doing a bit of EPL, English Premier League. I know Kevin's a big fan of the English Premier League.
Yeah.
He's keen to talk about it. So no, we're just putting some articles out on a weekly basis, covering some games, some DK modes, some prices. So a few NFL articles. We're looking to get in. We're looking to get involved.
Yeah, I'm not an EPL guy, but I don't even know what that stands for. But hey, we're talking football in America today. That's kind of where we're going to be at. And we're going to talk about the Bears. They've had an interesting offseason, to say the least. Before we get to the offseason, you guys finished 8-8. You guys made the playoffs, and you probably had one of the worst playoff games I've ever had to watch. At least you were in the playoffs, right? My Cowboys weren't. What were your thoughts as a whole for the season? Did they meet expectations? Was it kind of lackluster? What do you think of the Bears season?
Well, I mean, just touching on the playoff game, I suppose it depends if you watched it on Nickelodeon or not, because obviously those that watched it on Nickelodeon, enjoyed it. But did the season go as expected to? Look, the season was indifferent. It was. I wouldn't say it was frustrating all the way through. I think it was more frustrating for other people for some reason. A lot of people seem to be obsessed with us because we were winning games and we were 5-1 and we were the worst ever team that's ever been 5-1 in the history of the game. And I quite enjoyed that the bitterness from other organisations at that time. But look. The opening game kind of sort of sums up where the season goes. Mitch Trubisky wins in Detroit. That's just what happened. And it was no different. But obviously, people have remembered DeAndre Swift with literally 2 seconds on the clock, drops the ball and we come out with a win. You have an ugly game against the Giants week 2. And then, of course, it gets interesting. Now, obviously, the Atlanta game is where the call comes and Mitch is benched, and in comes Nick Foles, and wins the game.
Yeah,
but I just think for me the season was shrouded in this Foles Trubisky circus, as I thought it was. It was this constant battle every time you looked at the networks. It was taken away from anything else that the Bears were trying to do. Who's going to play, and that's not Mitch Trubisky's fault that Nick Foles was brought in, but I don't think it was any surprise that one mistake or two mistakes from Trubisky was going to see him benched. Such is the pressure on any quarterback in Chicago due to the recent 50 million years. Have
you guys had a quarterback in the last 50 years? I'm confused. I don't know. When's the last good quarterback you guys had? Jay Cutler? My boy's Jay Cutler over there?
I mean, I'll talk about Jay Cutler in a bit. Was he a good quarterback? Yeah, he was a good quarterback. But look, we'll come on to him in a minute with that ridiculous.
All right. I'm just giving you some
7-year contract. I've got beef on that one. But no, look, Jay Cutler was Jay Cutler, wasn't he? But Nick Foles comes in, and I think it's worth noting. I think four of his first starts were against top 10 ranked defenses. So I think sometimes when you look at, he didn't perform, it wasn't as simple as that. But it was tough. And when we 5-1, I was very comfortable with that. Like I said, the Bucks game in week 5. The reigning Super Bowl champions, obviously, we turned them over 20-19. Everybody generally remembers Tom Brady, losing count of what down he was on. But I think we were a little bit lucky in that. And that wasn't just the first game that happened. I mean, we gave the ball back to Brady with too much time on the clock. That's not the first time that we've done that in the season and got away with it. So I think for me, realism really hit week 7. That feeling there was quite comfortable for the Rams, and we looked quite average. Obviously, Leonard Floyd had a great game as he would do. But we also saw Darnell Mooney, blowing his coverage on Jalen Ramsey a couple of times, and sort of shows you where he was going. So, look, people touch on the end of the season. I know David at Hammercast liked to do it every week, how poor the opponents were, and David Montgomery's a fake, etc., etc. But look, you can only win the games that are put in front of you. We lose to the Packers, but it's just usual, isn't it? Yeah. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, and we finished strong, and that playoff game, like we mentioned against the Saints wasn't comfortable until into the third quarter. I mean, without the drop catch, there was place to be made. Without some silly penalties, that game could have easily gone the other way. Look, I'm glad it didn't, because we would have got absolutely spanked the next week. But it wasn't as one-sided as some may think. And we got into the playoffs, and there's plenty of teams that didn't. But 8-8, did I expect that? No, I probably expected a losing season. So look, I'll be happy with it. But I was just pleased with how much we seemed to rub people up the wrong way just by winning games. It was quite not seen it at that level before.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think you guys, I think you have a great defense. I think what has kind of always held you back is your quarterback play. I don't know what you can do for that. I mean, everybody talks about Mahomes and Watson and all those things a bit, but hey, you know what? At the end of the day, Trubisky did play okay, and I think part of this is how much do you put on Nagy? So how much do you guys, when we talk about front office, coaching changes, Matt Nagy came in 3 years ago. He went 12-4. You guys had a great year. You had a bad kick, 8-8 the next year, 8-8 this year. So he hasn't had a losing season yet. He's 28-20. How much blame, or what do you think? What are your thoughts on Nagy, Ryan Pace, that whole crew there? Like, what do you think of them?
So, I mean, obviously, I sort of give this a lot of thought. You kind of look at it two ways. You can sit here and go, they should all be sacked, get them out, get them out, get them out. But that's all you seem to read every sort of social group I'm on. How long can you keep saying that? He's there. The one thing I will say is, whether I personally agree with them both still being employed, they are. And the only one thing is, it was mentioned early. I was pleased they came out and just said, look, they are here next year. That's period. Because then at least there's a direction to go with. And it's like, okay, then we may not all be supportive of that, but at least we know they're there. I think, the in-house appointment of Desai, I think is a good one. I think that guy is one educated man, for 37 years old, the various roles that he's done across as different colleges. I think he's going to actually be a very good appointment. I mean, there's been an appointment today as well from Tom Herman from Houston, the old Houston coach. He's come in today as a offensive analyst, whatever that may be. But hey, look, at least it's something offensive, which can only be a positive, can't it? So, look, they've got work to do. It's that simple. They're very lucky to be in the position, but they are in the position. Matt Nagy maybe I thought maybe he had a slight more leeway at the start of the season, but then he tended to undo that by a lot of the play calls that he made, where he totally alienated the fan base, and to the point where he finally conceded defeat by handing over to Bill Lazor. So, look, whether I think they should be there or not is irrelevant. They are there. Ryan Pace has an unusual opportunity, which won't pay off. I mean, he gets slated constantly, doesn't he, for overlooking the Watson-Mahomes duo. And look, he has a rare opportunity to go and get the man that everybody slags him off for missing out on. But, you're going to have to give up everything for it. But,
yeah,
the drafts to come, they're going to be there. What can we do? Nothing. So do they last the season? Who knows? But they're going to be there, and I don't see the point of keep moaning about it because we're just getting away from any progress that could be there. So
I'm good. I want your opinion on this. So Ryan Pace has been the GM there since 2015. That was his first draft. I want to go through kind of his first round picks that he's made in that area.
Yep.
So Kevin White, 2015, wide receiver from West Virginia. That was a miss. Can you agree that was a miss there?
Yeah, we never saw him.
2016, Leonard Floyd. I don't know if you could fault him for Leonard. I thought Leonard was actually going to be a pretty good outside linebacker, but he just never panned out. Not the greatest pick there. 2017, this one hurts you. Mitch Trubisky. I think what he gave up and who was there and what he had. 2018, Raquan Smith from Georgia. He's
good.
He's good. He had him. And then obviously in 2019, he didn't have first two picks, and he took David Montgomery in the third. And I know you're a David Montgomery guy. But then he took Riley Ridley in the fourth. And that doesn't seem to be, when you look at his picks, it doesn't seem like he does very well at finding guys in the later rounds or even in the first round where you have to hit.
No, I mean, he moved up 14 places to take Montgomery. I mean, the thing with Ryan Pace is he's attacked. We've moved up 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019.
Ryan Pace is a car crash.
Yeah, he is. So if he's going to do that again, I don't know. The 20th pick. Who's going to be there at 20th? I mean, we're looking. Do you want to go on to the draft now, or do you want to lead up into?
Just really quick, how concerned are you with that Chuck Pagano retired? Are you any concerned about that? Because I know that defense is strong. You're good with that?
Not at all.
Okay.
Good luck to him. He's retired, and I wish him all the best. But personally, was he amazing? No. Did he just continue and sort of sustain what Vic Fangio had set in place? Yes. So, no. But good luck to him. Nice, good football man. But no, I won't miss him personally.
Hey, Joseph Rez is not impressed with you guys out there. All right, let's go to the draft. So we're looking at the draft right now. They got the 20th pick. Their biggest team needs, I guess we could throw a quarterback up there. They still got Nick Foles hanging around that roster, though, so let's not do there. Wide receiver maybe, possibly, if Allen Robinson doesn't come back. Offensive line seems like it's been kind of a big issue for you guys. DN, linebacker, there's a lot of areas that you guys could go with. Are you looking to try to trade up? And if you are, what quarterback where are you at with this pick?
Well, look, the quarterback situation first. It's just what do we do here? I mean, you've got all this Russell Wilson stuff and all these, the Carson Wentz's and all this stuff that's been going on. And, how much the Deshaun Watson stuff, how much are people willing to give up? Russell Wilson, obviously, if he made genuine interest that he wants to come, then obviously, you have to pursue it. But how far do you go? Nick Foles is probably going to cost more to get rid of than to keep him. So bar him being traded away in such a trade for another quarterback, he's going to be there next season. The 20th pick, people have, if you want to talking about quarterbacks, people have mentioned Mac Jones or maybe trying to trade up for Mac Jones. Mac Jones come in and do what behind a similar offensive line. I do think that's where we need to look at. I like the look of, you look at the likes of Penei Sewell, Slater, Vera Tucker, Darius, or they're likely all to be gone by the time we come onto the board at 20. So, I like the look of there's Jalen Mayfield, Michigan. You've got obviously the guys at Bama, Harris, and Leatherwood. If you're looking for wide receiver wise, if as expected, Allen Robinson's not there anymore. I like the look of Rashad Bateman, Ladarius Toney in Florida as well. People like that could possibly be available, or even trading up in the second round for Liam Eckenberg. Notre Dame as well, yeah. So there's chances to move up and grab. These top tackles are likely to be gone. That's what when you're picking at 20, that's what you're looking at. Someone like Jalen Mayfield, I really like, and you'd like to think he'd still be around when it comes to us coming on the board. So, But quarterback wise, I don't really see the point this year myself. If Foles is going to be there, Foles is going to be there. Upgrade the offensive line and then see where we are to move forward. Bring a Mac Jones in, okay, but then he's going to have similar situations to what Trubisky's got. And where we're going to be then, we're no further forward. And I think sometimes, you've got to keep looking forward. You've got the win now, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They was in win now mode. Tom Brady comes in perfect. All the puzzles fit in the piece. They win. We're not in that situation. If Russell Wilson goes, yes, I'm going to Chicago, brilliant. Bring him in. Alan Robinson all of a sudden says, well, I'm staying as well then. Bang. If you can address the offensive line in whatever way in the draft, then you're in that sort of mode. But I just don't see that type of thing happening. So do you want to try and trade up, give away picks to try and get a rookie in personally, or do you address that offensive line, or maybe bring in another wide receiver to sort of assist with Mooney, and then maybe move forward and look again next year? I don't know. You can look at it both ways. I think you have to look at the division. The Detroit Lions have now they've cleaned house, haven't they? They're just going to start again. Obviously, Stafford had gone out, which I think was a great decision on their half. Jared Goff comes in. He's got a point to prove. So, they're going to slowly start to move forward. Am I concerned with the Minnesota Vikings? No. And that's especially for you, Dan, if you're watching this. Does Kirk Cousins concern me? Not at all. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be around in Green Bay for too many more years? No, he's not. So, the chance to sort of start your rebuild process. I'm not going to say rebuild. It's not a full rebuild because the tools are there. But I don't know. I'm maybe looking at it that way, unless these elite stellar quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson decide they want to come to Chicago, which the negative side of me has taught me to say not a chance.
That's not going to happen. I see Dak a lot out there. All my Bears fans are my friends. They keep saying Dak's going there. He's not going there. So get off my quarterback. But I agree with Mark. My buddy Mark, he says, feel like in a bad situation. Pace Nagy in the hot seat. They have to kind of bring in a new quarterback. But if they do, then that new regime is going to be stuck there with that previous quarterback. I don't know if they have the draft capital to get up there, because I think that 5 quarterbacks are going to get taken to the top 10 at least. They're going to be somewhere.
Yeah.
It's too the quarterback position right now is going through a shift, and they need more. You're going to see these teams that drastically need quarterbacks, and guys are going to have to move up, and you're going to have to give up a lot. I think the 10 spot, where the Cowboys are drafted, is going to be a good spot, because there might be 1 or 2 quarterbacks still on the board, and then they're going to be asking for a ransom trying to get to that spot. And I don't know if the Bears are willing to give that up. I think they seem content. But like you talked about, and I've seen it happen on my teams, the windows close fast. These windows really close fast. And you got to go try to get a quarterback. And I don't know if Nick Foles is the answer. I mean, he got benched for Trubisky, who got benched for him, and it was that perpetual cycle, right, that we're talking about. And he knows I love my guy, Darnold. Darnold is the guy that I think, so could they get him for a second? I'd be willing to take that shot for a second. If the Jets do go, quarterback, which I think they have that. Okay, I think they have that area. I could see that happening. And then, now they can get him for a second. They're not going to get a first for Darnold. I think that's just a pipe dream. So I think that you could get him for a second. I would love Darnold there. I think that would be actually a pretty good fit. It gives him a new home. And there, what do you think of Darnold?
No, I rate him. Yeah, I like Sam Darnold. It's very rare that you get a sort of QB from a team that sort of performs so badly that carries a lot of sort of upside and hype to him. So no, I like him. I'd gladly take him. And obviously, Sam Darnold young enough to sort of ride out.
He's only 23.
A small transition. Next season to then still be there to have an impact a couple of years later. So that would make sense. But again. Do I see that move happening? No, I don't. I mean, sort of touching on free agency, someone like Bud Dupree, really interests me. I know he had obviously his injury, but it wasn't any coincidence that the Pittsburgh Steelers, not purely because of him, but when he was out, their decline slowly started. I mean, you could probably argue as well, or you could probably banter with the price due to that injury as well. Kenny Golladay is another one as well.
Yeah, I mean, so at the quarterback position, we'll just move to the quarterback position anyway. I mean, I saw some drafts, basically Jalen Mayfield's there, like you've been talking about. I've seen them maybe get Rondale Moore in the second round of a couple of mocks that I've seen. Getting guys like that maybe in the second or third round to kind of help out that wide receiver position, especially if Allen's not there. But you guys are in that weird spot where you're not quite good enough to win, but you're not bad enough to tank. And your contracts. So it's a tough spot. You're like in NFL purgatory, a place that you don't want to be. And so we're going to be talking about the quarterback spot, which we already kind of covered. And we've been talking about anyway. So it's easy there. Before we get into some guys that I want to really mention, I know we mentioned Darnold, and I know we mentioned these guys. What is Trubisky? Like, are you? I feel like there's two types of people. There's Bears fans that believe in Trubisky, and there's Bears fans that don't believe in Trubisky and can't stand him and want him gone 100%. Do you think he could succeed somewhere else too after we're done talking about him as a Bears quarterback?
Right. Okay. So. Look, I suppose every Bears fan's been through. I love him, I hate him. I suppose every team does. But I think one thing I want to say about Mitch Trubisky is it's not Mitch Trubisky's fault that Ryan Pace moved up one place to take him. Yeah. It's not Mitch Trubisky's fault that Patrick Mahomes is a freak and just keeps going to Super Bowls or championship games. And it's not Mitch Trubisky's fault that Deshaun Watson ended up and is currently the leading pass yard. So, I just think because there's such a big thing made of the success of the other two, and that could have easily gone the other way. Andy Reid, could have had Mitch Trubisky, and it's the other way around. So, but look, that's how it happened. They clearly believed in him enough to go and get him. Look, and it didn't work. It clearly went wrong. 2018, as you touched on earlier on, a decent season. We win the division. Yeah. And that's not happened. Sort of too long. He was 3,000 yards plus that season. Quite a lot of interceptions. But it wasn't a disaster. But then obviously you've got Nick Foles coming in, which must show. Mitchell Trubisky's confidence must have gone. Sort of just as far down as could possible when that comes in, because there's no confidence in him. If I'm Mitchell Trubisky personally, I'll be wanting to get out as soon as I can. I actually think the kid's handled himself well in the press, in the media, in interviews that he's done. I mean, it was a public benching live on the national networks when he done that. And he spoke positive. He turned up on the sideline. Look, it's his job. It's what he's paid to do. And Nick Foles did the same thing. But, I'll say that for him. There's respect from him from that way. But his performances, no, too inconsistent. Some really bad decisions at the wrong times. Costly decisions. Especially, when we're on third down or trying to move the ball, or just a rash deep ball, because the kid's got an arm that just sometimes used in the wrong places. So, no, there's no consistency there. You don't really feel that his own team have confidence in him. I think for anybody that can read certain body language on certain games or in certain huddles, you can kind of see. So no, look, the best thing for him is to ship out. Good luck to him and move out. Could it be a success somewhere else? Why not? Could he's likely to go as a backup somewhere, but the guy needs a bit of a break, maybe a bit of time out of the spotlight to improve his game. And if he goes somewhere where there's a reasonable QB coach or an experienced starter, then maybe he can learn out of the spotlight in a little bit of a piece, and he's not going to get that in Chicago, and he's not had that. It's total spotlight on the quarterback situation, because we are all so goddamn desperate to have one. So no, not for me. Don't want to see him playing again at Soldier Field or anywhere in a Bears uniform, but I do wish him the best of luck wherever he goes, and would generally be pleased if he made half a success of his career somewhere. So
in Dynasty perspective, and you were just talking about fantasy, in Dynasty perspective, is he worth like a third round pick? Like, would you maybe, because here's some spots I've seen for him, like the Broncos, maybe the Broncos bring him in to compete with Locke. I've seen the Broncos, the Patriots. I've seen that a bunch of times. I don't know if they're willing to do that, but if he goes to some team like that, Patriots, I also saw Washington. I saw maybe back up Carolina. If those guys don't upgrade their spots, even the Niners, would you? What does he have a value? I don't know if he has a value, but would you?
I'm not sure. I mean, Carolina seem hell bent on getting Teddy B out, don't they, already? So, I mean, yes, I've read the Patriots link. I have some plan. Does he have a value? I don't know. What would I have? What are you going to try and get through now? Maybe a third, but you'd want to take that now, wouldn't you? Before this decision's made, take the risk and gamble and go, okay, I'll pay a third for him, because if he does land in Denver, and those that know me, I've been very vocal on my dissatisfaction with Drew Lock. I know you rate him. I don't whatsoever. So if he goes to Denver, then Mitchell Trubisky could be a starter in there eventually. Yeah. But a third now, I take it. Yeah, you'd often try and get him now in the event that he potentially gets a starting job somewhere. Then obviously you've upgraded your pick, then haven't you already? Put him straight on the trading block, and I'm sure there's somebody out there wanting a starter, especially in the 2 QB league, and you probably get that back plus maybe an extra round pick on it. So I think a third now.
Yeah, if I'm buying him, I'm trying now. I'm not doing it when he goes to a team. If I'm selling him, I'm waiting. So you're in that weird spot. Hopefully you get a guy that just wants to get rid of him, and you get it there. Think about the quarterback position. Nick Foles, he's probably coming back next year because his dead cap's $10 million. After that is his opt. He's at $3 million dead cap. He'll probably be gone. Some guys that I like, and I know Mark mentioned it too. Fitzpatrick for a year would be could make them contender-ish, I guess. I mean, you have Miami going pretty well into that weird thing. I saw Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's done. I don't agree with Andy Dalton. I think Andy Dalton is terrible. I would much rather have Fitzpatrick if I'm being honest from that perspective. I've seen Cam a couple times, but again, I don't know if Cam is there. Jameis Winston, guys that maybe you would take a shot on. Do any of those guys make you feel good about yourself as a Bears fan? Or
Cam Newton, no. Andy Dalton, no.
Yeah.
Look, Ryan Fitzpatrick, why not, right? He can win games. He can get you out of holes. He can recover 17-point deficits with 2 minutes on the clock, things like that. So can Jameis Winston. The only thing they maybe both have in common is they can also cost you 17 points in the last 2 minutes if it goes the other way. But yeah, you could see them fitting in. But again, we're filling a gap. We're just hole filling. Yeah. And this is my point. Are we going to spend money on these people to fill a hole when, contrary to, I know not people, but Nick Foles is already there, so we're not going to just fill the hole? I don't know. It just feels that's where we're at. Yet at the same time, I can't remember who mentioned it earlier on. You've got, the situation where Pace and Nagy really, it's not like we need that stellar quarterback, but unless you are going to bring that type of elite QB in, I don't personally see the point of filling a hole, which essentially it is. But out of them two, Ryan Fitzpatrick, why not? I think the guy's got the greatest chest of hair I've probably ever seen. So if he's up on that podium talking about a Bears victory with his chains and his pearly chest, then why not? Yeah, why not?
How much are you willing to get rid of on your roster for Deshaun Watson? So is it worth the value? Because I've seen this. I've seen first round picks. So you're basically giving up, 20, 26 in that area, or 20, and then maybe giving up 2 more other first round picks. Roquan Smith, linebacker. Where is your line? Where should you kind of go? Because Watson's 25. He's a dynasty quarterback. He's a guy that's gonna be around for a long time. Do you think you just go grab him? Because I think you're in a position with your front office that they're starting to grasp the straws, right? They want to make a splash. They need to do that. How comfortable are you really in getting rid of 3 or 4 first round picks, which he's gonna go for?
Yeah, that's, I suppose there's 2 ways you look at it. Deshaun Watson's Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson makes it known that he would come and play or wants to come and play in Chicago, then you have to do it, don't you? The only thing I really, really rate Roquan Smith. I wouldn't like to think he would be part of that trade, but what do you do if the guy's there and he's saying, yes, I want to come and play, it's going to cost this, and he's 25 years old? They're going to take it, but would it sit comfortable with me giving up people like Roquan. No, it wouldn't. But you know what? If he's going to come, he's going to come. You take it, don't you? Of course you do for a guy of that skill set at the age that he is. You know, Russell Wilson's slightly different. I mean, what's Russell Wilson? 30.
He's 32, and I think he's turning 33 next year.
Yeah, slightly different scenario, isn't it? You could maybe sort of argue that. But no, look, Deshaun Watson says, I want to play for Chicago, which I don't believe he does for 1 second. And of course, you know, you do it, don't you? Of course you
What
do.
about Jimmy G? Would you like Jimmy G? I know my guy brought up Jimmy G. No Jimmy G, love?
No, well, again, he's better
than Foles, right?
Yeah, we're filling holes, though, because he's, you know, all it takes is one injury from Jimmy G, and then, you know, then yeah, but look, he's an option. Why not? He's an option, but not. It is, you know,
this is where we're at. This is where we're at, Bears fans. It's just
well, again, we're just but it's true, and this will continue and continue and continue until there's a solid plan, you know, put in place to address this, or this elite QB comes in place. But I don't know, how much money do you chuck at someone for 1 year? I'm not sure. Ryan Fitzpatrick, yeah, Jimmy G, why not? But you know, the 49ers have made it clear, haven't they? I believe that he's not going anywhere.
Yes, Jimmy G, no matter what. All right, let's go to running backs. Let's look at running backs. And, you know, David Montgomery is one of those guys in fantasy that either you love him or you hate him, and there's really no in between. He's hated by some guys, and they say, oh, he's overrated, he's whatever. You know what? But, you know, he finished, you know, in PPR format. So we're looking at PPR last year. And we're looking kind of where he finished at the running backs. I mean, he finished as a running back 1. He was running back 6. So David Montgomery finished. Now, he didn't have the greatest season. He definitely finished strong, probably won some people some championships. Do you think he can repeat that and be a running back 1 again next year, or is he a running back 2?
No, I think the thing when it comes to David Montgomery, I mean, a lot of people will either, I presume, have David Montgomery, especially on their dynasty rosters, from the original trade when they didn't get Josh Jacobs. You know, there's a lot of people in for. So I would imagine if you didn't get Josh Jacobs, you got David Montgomery. Now, the one thing with Montgomery, the volume he's going to get is there, because if you look beyond David Montgomery, yes, Tariq Cohen is hopefully fitting well. You know, I like Tariq Cohen. That may sort of eat into a little bit of his, you know, he may not be such a 3-down back if Tariq Cohen's there. Tariq Cohen can take quite a, you know, lot of passing out the backfield, which again, Montgomery's done a good job of. But, you know, look past them and what is there? There's nothing. You're looking at Ryan Nall, Tavis Pierce. These guys ain't going to really have much of an impact. So David Montgomery, volume-wise, he's going to be there, you know, with a few more gaps created to plug for him. Then, yeah, I don't see why he's not up there again. You know, again, he's young. And one thing that really impresses me with Montgomery, and I think, to be fair, he's had to learn this through the offense being so poor, is his yards that he gets after contact. Really pleased with his strength and his quick movement. So, yeah, why not? I don't have him. I actually traded him away earlier on in the season. I think I was in a mood we must have lost, and I've got the ump. I let it take over the Dynasty format. But no, yeah, I would keep him. You know, I think the guy's a talent. Of course he is.
Yeah, I think if you're
what do you think?
Well, I think if you're borderline, you got to move him. If you know you can contend, I'm keeping him. But if you're borderline, I think it's time, because I think after this year, I think his value goes down. But there's some trades I want to get your opinion on, because this is interesting. There's a couple that I just shake my head at, but there's a couple that I'm interested in. So would you rather have Montgomery or Mixon? Because this just went down. So Joe Mixon, who is also another guy in the community and fantasy, really gets hated on. You know, he hasn't lived up to his talent for a lot of people based on it where he gets drafted. So would you rather have Montgomery right now or Mixon heading there? I would rather have Mixon. I'm a mixing guy, I think, but I want something plus that. So if I was getting something, if I was trading Montgomery, I'd be like, hey, he was a running back 1. Give me Mixon plus something.
I mean, I think, like you say, this is a perfect. They are literally at the same sort of. I would rather have Montgomery. That's not me being biased. I'm probably trying to. Obviously, Dean may be watching this, so I can't pick a Cincinnati Bengal over a Chicago Bear, probably for that purpose. But no, I'd stick with Montgomery. I don't think there's going to be much difference in there, but I don't know. I'd need to see I'd need to see what Mixon's, what he's going to do when he comes back. I want to see the new improved, he's had his rest, because let's be honest, he wasn't injured all the rest of the season. He could have played at the back end of that season, but they clearly kept him fresh, which is understandable. With the divisions, there is. With the divisions, Montgomery over Mixon.
Okay. Tougher schedule next year. Well, what we think is a tougher schedule. Ravens, Niners, Rams, Steelers, Bucks, Browns, Cardinals, Giants. You're going to see a little bit of a down. I think Montgomery is going to go down a little bit. If I have him, which I do, I actually have Montgomery in a couple leagues. I'm looking to offload him, but it depends on what you can get for him. So in a super flex league, let's think of super flex. We'll do one quarterback in a minute. But super flex, what is the lowest you'll take from him in terms of the first round? So 108, 109, 110. Because I would give him up for a first. Maybe the running back class isn't as strong as I would like, maybe, to get him in there. But where would that bar for you be?
I suppose I get...
Putting you on the spot a little bit. What do you think?
Because obviously, you're going to compare it on what the rest of your roster is it? And what other guys you've got in position.
Just in general.
So if I was slightly interested in 1-7,
okay,
I would probably take.
I think you could get running back 2 in that, maybe Javonte Williams from North Carolina. You can get ETN in that spot. I've seen ETN drop a lot. So. Or you can get one of the receivers that maybe falls, and especially in Superflex. So if you're at the 107-ish in Superflex, then single quarterback, 104, 103? Is that where you're at?
Yeah, I think sort of 107, because it's going to be, QB heavy at the top. So, there is going to be guys sort of around that position. If it was an RB heavy class, I'd maybe up it a little bit. But yeah, no, I'd be happy with that if I was going to trade him in that.
All right, yeah, and I think the unknown is what Tariq's going to do. So the unknown for me is, when you already mentioned him, so I'll be quick. What is Tariq going to do? Will he take away the passing game? I think he will. I think that he's gotten a ton of targets when he's healthy. I just see Montgomery as a running back 2. So if you're looking at him as your running back 1, I think that your dynasty team or your fantasy team is going to struggle a little bit. If he's a running back 2, that's not as bad value, and I don't necessarily think you have to move him if he's running back 2. But I know my 0 running back guys out there, wherever you're at, you're my people. I know he's your running back 1 right now, so you might want to think about that. Let's go to wide receiver, because I think this is the most interesting position for them. Well, besides quarterback, but they're going to need an upgrade, I think, at the position. What do you think they do with Allen Robinson? All signs point to him probably leaving. Do you think he comes back?
Well, I think he comes back if someone like Russell Wilson comes in, But outside of that, no. It's a strange situation, isn't it? Look, taking my Bears hat off, Allen Robinson's had to play with some average quarterbacks, hasn't he? And the figures he puts up, the numbers he puts up, the points he puts up in Dynasty are impressive. And, few would argue that let him go and have a go. I could see him fitting well in Indianapolis at this moment in time with Carson Wentz has gone there, or maybe Miami, depending on what they're going to do with their with that 3rd pick. But I don't know. It's obviously they're surely going to, the tag's going to be put on him clearly. So I don't know.
Yeah, he could get franchised, right? I think that I don't know if he'd play under that, okay, but he could get franchised, maybe trade. I've seen that. But you got to look at Allen Robinson. This is how good he is with the quarterbacks he played with last year. He finished as the 7th high. He was 7th wide receiver 7 in PPR formats in 16 weeks. That's legit, guys. The guy, he averaged 17 points of fantasy points a game in PPR formats with what he had around him and what he was throwing at. He's a big buy for me, because especially right now with the unknown. I don't know if you could grab him yet. But yeah, he could get maybe tagged and traded, maybe for a quarterback. Maybe we see that. I can see that. I think that he's going to move on, because I felt like he wanted a contract, and I don't think the Bears didn't want to give it to him. And I think that really pissed him off at the beginning of the year. And he kind of just said none. A guy that I really love is Mooney. I don't know what you feel like is Mooney. He was a big buy for me. I think that's a great guy moving forward. Give me your opinions on Mooney, and then where do you think they upgrade the position? I know you talked about Kenny Golladay, some other guys, but does it really depend on the quarterback for you? Like, if they get a quarterback, they might be able to bring somebody in.
Well, yeah, like I say, the Robinson situation is sad that it's come that way. Obviously, as most professional sportsmen tend to do these days, they sort of make comments on Twitter, not to the level that Juju does, but
Hey, easy on my boy Juju.
Hey, listen, I've got Juju. I'm a Juju fan. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be working out well. I mean, there's a lot of, there's a few people that can be released to sort of free up some finances. But no, it looks like he's going to be on the way out. Darnell Mooney is gold. Absolute gold. I drafted him on every team that I have. He just looks such a talent. He does not drop the ball.
Yeah.
And like you say, his route running, his speed, his willingness or his ability to blow coverage so quickly. He's a special player, and I'm really, obviously delighted that he's on the roster. But again, it goes back to the quarterback position, doesn't it? What happens if it is Nick Foles? Then obviously, for me, Cole Kmet becomes even bigger. But yeah, Kenny G, we can't. Allen Robinson has to be replaced in one way or the other, whether it is through the draft with the guys I mentioned earlier on. Obviously, it's not going to be the same impact, but Golladay, who should be fresh, and he only played 5 games in the season that's just finished. He knows the division well, and look, Kenny G's a stud, isn't he? You throw it up there, which Nick Foles can do. He'll go up there and get it. If it was Ryan Fitzpatrick, if it was Jameis Winston, the guys who we talked before, if they're filling this hole, someone like that, he can go up and get it. But we have to, because when you look at the likes of Javon Wims and people like that, it doesn't exactly fill you with too much optimism. So again, it's a position that needs to be looked at depending on what happens with Robinson. And look, they must know. All parties must know what's happening, because you don't sort of, the draft's not a million miles away. So just because it's not been made public yet, all parties must be aware of where this is going and have their various plans in place. Yeah,
I mean, I think so. And I was going to ask you this question next. I'm glad Mark brought it up. What would you feel comfortable giving up for him in Dynasty? So I have some trades here, just to kind of talk about it. So someone gave up Odell Beckham. They traded Odell for Darnell Mooney and a second. I don't hate that. It depends on what you feel like OBJ's at. His value is pretty low right now. But you know what? If you get a second, if it's super flex, I don't necessarily hate that. I think a second round pick is fair, right? I would probably give a middle to the late second. That if you're in super flex, the early seconds are pretty valuable. So I probably want something coming back with me if I'm going to give up that. But middle to late second, I'm good. I'm good there. I think that's kind of where I'm at. What about you for Darnell Mooney? What do you see? So what I'm seeing basically is mid to late second is pretty much his value right now. You can overpay, but maybe an OBJ, and then you get something else in return.
So somebody traded Mooney away to get OBJ in a second?
No, so it's Darnell Mooney in a second for OBJ.
Right. Yeah. See, OBJ's done, isn't he? He's when he comes back. Darnell Mooney. I personally wouldn't be trading him away, but yeah, I'll probably I'll be considering offers that are a little bit higher than you. An early second round for me. Okay. Considering again at the situation, it depends when you're doing the trade, because if you're doing it and assuming Robinson's going to leave, then there's a huge upside straight away, because Darnell Mooney's production is going to severely increase, isn't it? Depending on whichever wide receivers come in. So again, it's a great time of year, isn't it, to do these sort of trades and offers now, because there's so much we're not sure. I mean, you have to look at the JJ Watt today. He's made his decision. He's going to Green Bay, Cleveland, or was it Pittsburgh, the other one? Yeah. JJ Watt traded to the Arizona Cardinals. So I just think it's a fantastic time of season to be trying these risks, to be trying people for trades, because just read Twitter. People are going absolutely everywhere. So, but yeah, a high second for me.
Okay. Mooney got 98 targets last year. So he did get targets. And if Robinson leaves, there's going to be a vacuum, depending on what they do. They bring in a young guy. Mooney's got a good, 5'11", 175. I think he can fit that role pretty well. He's pretty good on the inside and slot. I think he can kind of play wherever. I really love Mooney. And he probably would have had a better production if he had a quarterback that could throw him the damn ball. He was open a lot, but he just didn't have a guy to get it to him.
Yeah, well, that game I mentioned in LA early on, the one where it sort of went a bit wrong. There was two. I think it was the first quarter, or definitely in the first half, when he blew his coverage of. I only the best cornerback in the
Ramsey.
league,
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey, and it was just on a plate, but Foles couldn't hit him. But the kid's a talent, and we're in good shoes there, so it's not all doom and gloom.
There's got to be some upgrades there, though. If they lose Allen, I've never really been an Anthony Miller guy. I think they'll probably give him another year, but I don't see it. Wims, I don't see it. Cordell Patterson, I think he's gone finally. But those guys, to me, don't move the dial for me, especially in fantasy purposes. Like, I don't want to touch those guys. I don't have any of those guys. I don't see them doing anything. Do you?
No, I mean, Anthony Miller's I wouldn't say I'm quite sad about it. That's a bit extreme, but I'm disappointed with how his season's gone. I had high hopes for him. I really rated him. Last season, I tried to trade for him many a times in our league, but it never paid off. Luckily enough, in this instance. But no, I think you've got to look at Anthony Miller and look at what the trade value is out there. Jimmy Graham, Buster Screen. Akeem Hicks could be a huge cap save as well. And, I'd definitely look at restructuring Robert Quinn as well, because he's not exactly been the player which, we hoped or expected him to be.
Yeah.
Maybe even try and restructure Khalil Mack's contract as well. So I don't know. There's savings to be made there. Like you say, Bobby Massey, there's Leno. Did they let them both go at the same time? I'm not sure. Maybe Leno stays another season. I'm not sure, but no, Anthony Miller was disappointing, really disappointing. His concentration level seemed to come off the ball. He was dropping the ball. He wasn't making the right runs. He was getting shoved off the ball. I don't know whether there was something else going on in his life or whatever. We don't always know these things, but no, he was disappointing, and he's definitely not. He's not the future, is he?
All right, well, let's go to tight end, because there's been a big Cole Kmet train. He's the guy. He's kind of stepping in. I think the thing that I loved is after the bye week, they got him really involved. And the thing I loved about what I saw from him, in the second half of that season, he was getting, I think it was 36 targets the last few games that he had. He had 44 on the year. So essentially, he got around that 34 to 36 targets. He doesn't have great production. I think some people they got to slow the roll a little bit on the Cole train a little bit. But he looks okay. He only had 2 touchdowns on the year. I think Jimmy is going to be do you think they bring back Jimmy?
No, yeah. I don't. There's a save in there, and I personally don't see the point. I mean, look, Jimmy Graham's role, as I like to think it's been, has been to sort of mentor and coach Cole Kmet over the last season. He speaks very highly of him, very positive of him.
Yeah.
And you think Kmet came out of the draft with the Khalil Mack trade pick. It was actually the Raiders pick that we got him. What I love about Cole Kmet is he's got the height, he's got the strength, he's got the athleticism, and the one thing I like about him the most, he's an angry man, and I think that's a positive. However, he is going to have to learn to control that somewhat. He's becoming a little bit, or he will become a little bit of a target. He's shown his aggression in the back end of the season, and look, opposing defenses are going to know that. They've seen that. Each team sees all the tape. They know what to do to him next season. They're going to try and rub him up the wrong way and get a reaction. He needs to be able to be just a little bit more intelligent on that, and I think he'll be fine. But he's a beast. Like I say, he'll go up and get the ball. He's great at blocking. I think he could be better at blocking, but he's got the strength to do it all. He can get up there and go and get it. He just needs to, because for me, the officiating over the last couple of years, and especially this last season, some of the officiating has been soft, shall we say. Some of the decisions are so soft. Some of the penalties given. If that's the way the league's going, I hope it's not. I hope it toughens up a little bit more next year. Otherwise, Cole Kmet could be on the end of quite a few penalties. But I think that's what he just needs to work on. Don't get wound up by others. And no, he's great. And look, if you're talking about in Dynasty for him, then he's a first round pick is what I want for him.
Yeah, I mean, so cut Graham, save $7 million. Yeah, so
exactly.
Yeah, if you cut it, you get rid of him. As far as his value goes in Dynasty right now, so I saw a recent trade. It was Cole and a second-round pick, which was like a 2.02 for Hayden Hurst. Not a bad deal. I think in Dynasty format, depending on what you think of Hayden, what he's going to do with a new offensive coordinator, new offense, I don't hate it because you get a young asset like Kmet. and you get the second round, which I think would be a better asset than Hurst. So that's kind of where I'm at. I have a hard time thinking you're going to get a first for him if you can get him. I probably wouldn't give up a first for Cole. But that tight end position is so bad, and like it's so barren after the top three. You're really just hoping for hey, what can this guy do to be a tight end one? It doesn't take much, so you got to score 2 touchdowns, and 3 touchdowns in that position. So I think a late second, I wouldn't hate it. Early third, probably more for me, but I can see kind of where you have that. I also saw him go for Jamison Crowder straight up. I probably tend to be more Crowder side, but I don't hate it. I like Cole. I think Cole's going to do well, but again, it always comes out who's going to be throwing the ball. If it's Foles and those guys, I actually like it a little bit more because I think they'll target him a little bit more. But I do like the upside targets, right? We're talking about 30 to 40 targets at the end of the year. I really like that perspective of him. So overall, I just think there's not a lot of buys on your team just because I think you're trending. I don't want to say you're trending down. That offense, I don't know what to expect of that offense until they get a quarterback. So you're basically buying on market value and hoping they get an upgrade. But I just don't trust Pace. And I don't trust those guys to get another upgrade because if they roll back with Foles, God, that's going to be a top 5 pick, right? Like I don't know necessarily what that was going to look like.
No, I mean, just obviously, like you're right. I mean, the tight end market's just blown away by Travis Kelce just being an absolute monster, isn't he? But I mean, you look at Jimmy Graham, like he won me. I'd say he won me single-handedly 2 to 3 games last year. He didn't have much production, but he went and got 2 TDs here and there, or he jumped up and got one. So it's that type of, I think he finished quite high up in our league as well for rankings by the end of it. But it's an interesting position. But if you're measuring everybody with, like you say, them top guys. And
I can see them maybe getting a free agent. I don't know if you get what you think of like. I don't know. Dan Arnold doesn't really make me feel good about myself.
I know you like Dan Arnold. Didn't he buy your kid a?
He did.
Did he contribute to buying a castle or something?
He helped me with some prop bets. Dan's there. Gerald Everett. I mean, he might be a little bit too pricey to bring in as like a backup kind of the guy. But I could see them bringing in a low-level veteran, maybe Ross Dwelly. For some reason, I like my boy Dwelly. I don't know if he's going to go anywhere. I know he's a restricted free agent. But those type of guys, maybe they bring him in. But I think Cole's the guy, right? I think that's the guy. And 100%. I think he's a good buy right now just for what you have.
100%.
All right. That's your Bears kind of just your dynasty outlook. I think their outlook's it's a weird purgatory outlook right now. Are there any final thoughts on that roster? Any guys you maybe missed or guys that you want to throw in there for trades or anything like that? Any final thoughts? Maybe what do you think next year?
I mean, obviously from a dynasty, dynasty for anybody, it's I don't know. You're right. There's not many more outside of what we mentioned. Like I say, we're doing this show today.
Yeah.
Where in the great unknown, we could do this show again after the draft, and for all we know, Russell Wilson's there, A-Rob stayed, or he's gone, and we've traded up and we've got Mac Jones, or we've done, Carl Trask ended up. You don't
like Carl Trask.
No, I don't. I'm just using examples, but it's that type of thing that it's the great unknown. So you're taking a risk at this moment in time across anybody. I mean, like you say, Tariq Cohen has been productive in the past, but Mark's just mentioned in there Fuller as well. Really like Fuller. Our cornerback situation's pretty good. And another guys I forgot to mention in free agency to look at as well is Trent Williams as well. If we can free up some money and maybe look at him to sort of build the offensive line, but yeah, sorry, back to, I don't know. We're waiting, isn't we? There's no one I'm going to say, what are you going to get for Tariq Cohen now? He's been on injured reserve all season. I've actually tried to get Tariq Cohen a couple of times off a colleague in one of my Dynasty League who highly overvalues him. So, Josh, if you're watching, drop your value on him. But yeah, no, look, I'd love to sit here and say there's all these manner of, but there just isn't, is there? If you're looking at IDP, we can chuck a few more names because it's a bit more balanced on the defensive side, isn't it? But offensive side, we've probably covered what we've covered.
Yeah, they got to really shore up that offensive line. I would love to see it, and they got to make sure they get that offensive line fixed, and especially just for the quarterback position. If they don't fix that offensive line is so bad. Offensive line is so bad, and it's just you've got to improve that. A lot of guys don't realize how bad the offensive line is in the league, and the top guys. You saw what happened with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You got to shore that up. And so they've really got to look at that. They have so many depths. That's why I really think that 20th pick is going to be an offensive lineman. And then they're going to just work out from there, and they're going to get a stopgap quarterback, and they're just going to try to build. But I don't know. I think they missed their mark on Trubisky, and that's going to set them by. That defense was so good the last 3 years. If they had a quarterback, we could have realistically seen the Bears in the Super Bowl. Not that it's so bad.
Kevin, don't say stuff like that to me.
Yeah.
My only saving grace in this is that I do sit in this interview with a playoff team, unlike yours last year. So that's the only thing.
That is true. Hey,
that's the only thing I've got.
That is true. Hey, I would love to wrap this up a little bit. I always try to get guys to tell me their favorite Chicago Bears player, past or present. Who is the guy out there? I mean, the Bears have had great players, maybe not within the last 10, 20 years, but they've had some great – I'm just kidding. They've had some great players out there. So who is your guy or guys that you really – or you grew up either watching or anything like that?
Yeah, well, obviously it's a simple question, this. When you sort of said to me, you sent me this, and I was like, oh, this is easy. And then I sort of had a minefield where I was sat down thinking of 55 people. So I thought the easiest way to explain it, so obviously being from England – the NFL was huge over here in the late 80s. Obviously not as huge as it was now, but you had limited viewing, limited games you could watch. But obviously I was 6 years old when the Bears were Super Bowl champions, and that was my first game. Sorry, 7. That was the first game my dad took me to at Wembley, which was the Bears and the Cowboys. So that's where my love of the Bears come from. And it would be easy. It would be too easy to say someone like Walter Payton, all that 85 which we must respect and love that team. But do you know what? That's another thing. We've got to stop talking about it for a little while and try and create some new history, because the more we're stuck back there, it's going to hinder things. But that's another thing. So that defense, them players, special times. But I narrowed it down to one, and I thought the guy that I just loved, his energy, his power, always had a smile on his face, and that was Charles Tillman.
Okay,
Charles Tillman. So I'll probably say he's my favourite player in the Bears time while I've been alive. But yeah, loved him. Was gutted when he went to Carolina, and then he done well as well in his one season. But yeah, top man, Peanut Tillman. Absolutely. Peanut Tillman.
Hey, I used to love watching Peanut. He's a great player. You guys have had a great defense. It always seems like you guys have a great defense over there. It's that offensive side I always feel like you guys struggle with. So, hey, I appreciate you coming on. I know we want to, make sure we get out of here at the right time. But, I would love to hear, tell us what's next for you. So what do you got coming down the pipe? I know that, you help us out a lot, so I get that. And I would love for what's your next kind of article coming out, or what maybe show idea, anything coming down the way?
Yeah, so obviously there's some more EPL stuff this week going off. And then obviously we'll be looking to trying to get one of the first shows up and running broadcast over here, which is proving somewhat more difficult than expected. So I'll repeat, anybody out there wants to get involved, do some collaborating, wants to speak to some UK guys at some peak UK times, please do get in touch. Article wise, I don't know. I sort of do, as you know, another sport that I know you love, Kevin, cricket. I do. I've got some cricket articles that I'm on with at the minute for me personal podcast, End of the Over. So if there is any Americans out there that love English cricket, I'm sure there's thousands of you. Then sort of please go on my Twitter and check out that. But I don't know. We'll have a look. I'm going to have a think. Obviously, with the draft coming up. Obviously there's going to be a lot of articles going in, so I'm going to try and sort of think of something that's slightly different to what most people are trying to put out. And obviously I'm sure we'll have a lot of stuff, won't we, involved around the draft night to touch base on and see what's going from there. So, but no NFL articles specifically at this moment in time, but I'll have a think over the next couple of nights and see what I can come out with.
Hey, yeah, I mean, check out his EPL stuff. I don't know what the hell I'm reading when I read it, but it seems good. Check out his stuff and go from there. And appreciate you coming on. All my Bears fans out there, there's light at the end of the tunnel, I think. I don't know. I hope so. As far as us, hey, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, listen to the podcast. Please rate. Let us know how you're doing. Always, you can follow me on Twitter at @theboys_22. You can follow Joseph at Joseph Russ with 3 S's, and you can find him there. We appreciate you listening in, and you guys have a wonderful wherever you're at. Just have a wonderful, stay healthy out there.
Did you get all that? If not, make sure you head over to hammercast.com, subscribe, and join the Hammer Nation. Until next time, keep grinding.